Hello everyone, welcome back to Let's Code, and in this lecture we are going to see the CSS selectors as promised in the last lecture. So let's start our code. I actually created this folder learning CSS for this CSS module, and here I'm going to I will select this file and create a new file named CSS selectors .css is the extension for the CSS file, but I will show you it in the next lecture that why we use it. But for now I'm going to use .html for you so you can understand it better. So now let's begin our code, and here I'm going to use the symbol and press enter to auto generate the HTML structure, and here I'm going to type CSS selectors. So this is our file. I will open my Finder, or you can say File Explorer for the Windows, and here I am having my intro to web development folder, and here I am having the learning.css, the folder we created, and here is our new file, and I'm just double click it so we can see it, and it's CSS selector. So let's come back to our VS Code, and here I'm actually going to do first is universal selector. I can show you what is the universal selector. Let's have a P with lorem ipsum any text. So it's our 1 minute. I'm just going to make the view word wrap so we don't need to scroll from left to right, and here I'm going to create a heading that is called that is also a lorem but only of 5 words, and here I'm going to have a P and it is also lorem and it's 10 words. So let's come back to our browser, refresh it, and here you can see all the text and everything is here. As in last lecture of the tables, I used internal CSS. So I will type style, and inside style first I select a P and I just color it like not black, I'm just going to color it white, and I'm using the text so you can understand it better. White smoke, even not white because our screen is white, so it will create a trouble for us. Even not black as it's already black. So use this color for it. And now H1. So for H1 I need the same color. I just come here and copied it, just come back, and now I want to use the same color for this. So what can I do? I copy it again, or I just go here and comma H1. I can do it in that way as well. I can show you how. Just come here and you can say it's same, but it's very difficult when you have multiple things and for the whole HTML you want the same color. For example, I need the navy blue, or I'm selecting it like this, or I can also write navy, and I'm going to refresh it and you are having the color here. So now what I will do for the universal selector, first I will comment this code. I will come here, I will type universal selector. What is it? Just come here, type a asterisk and then these two brackets, and now I will copy this, and this time I'm asking the HTML to color this whole text for this entire web page as blue. I can show you how. Just I did it and I'm going to refresh my file, and you are seeing the color is changed here. Maybe color is dark, you can't find the difference, so therefore I'm just making it green and refresh it, so our whole text is green now. I hope you get the universal selector. Universal selector is something that selects everything from a page, and all the things you want to change in an entire HTML you can use universal selector. If all the elements you want to use the same styling, but you can change it later. Like here I'm going to uncomment it and it's having a color like this, and I will go for a dark blue color for the H1, and you are seeing the H1 color is different. This is because I first asked the CSS to choose the universal, then go for the H1, and it actually what it did, it first also colored the H1 as green and then colored it back to the blue because of describing it below the universal. If I describe it above the universal, just come here and still it's same because h1 is more detailed for the HTML as compared to the universal. And there is something I can show you that is important. So let's refresh it, and now it's green because the important shows us that it's important. Anyways, make it green, make everything green. So therefore it's making the color of every text green. So now I'm going to comment this one as well. And yeah, that's the universal. Let's have the next selector, that is type selector. Type selector is the same, this one. I'm going to copy this, and yeah, I'm just coming here. I'm writing the type selector. Type selector is something when you use these tags such as body, p, or the h1, like here I'm just doing it like this. I uncomment the code and I'm going to refresh it and just come. Yeah, I need to remove the important. Yeah, so now it's blue. It's the type selector. Even I can ask the body to be background. Yeah, background color, not background, only background color as black. And now I will make them lighter like this and like this. Come back, refresh. You are having a good combo now. So let's start our next selector type, that is the class selector. We didn't talk about the classes yet. So here what I'm going to do, I am going to define the class. So I'm defining a p and other p, not p, the h1. So I can show you the difference because we are already having h1 type selector. Class selector is much powerful than the type selector. I can show you how. Here is it, selector. Yeah, selector. And now in h1 I'm going to write class is used to select, oh sorry, not this one, select me. Let's come back to our browser. I'm going to refresh it. It's having the same color, the first one, and here is the text. There is no difference between them. But now I'm going to define a class inside the h1, the second h1, and I'm going to name it as use class. It's just a name, you can name it anything, it will work. So it's up to you, whatever, even x, y, z will work in the place of this text, and you only need to define class equal to or equal to any text. But text should not have spaces, because having a space means you are having another class. So now I will do use class. It's showing me error. I will show you why. It's saying don't use empty rule sets, because it's not because of that, but I will show you that here we need to add a dot because it's a class. So now come back here, but first we need to change its color. So yeah, let's have our color as near to yellow, and then refresh it. We're having the change here. And now I will show you something very interesting, that is copy this, come here, h1 dot, yeah, it's here, and here I'm going to pass it the pink color. I'm going to refresh it. Why it's pink now? Because the h1 is more powerful. h1 dot use class is more powerful than the use class, because it's having two identifiers. Like h1 is the type selector that is having a class of use class. And even I can show you one thing more, that is class 2, and here I'm going to use class 2, yes. And now I'm going to copy this, come here, dot paste, oh sorry, I can show you the difference between that, why we use spaces and why don't. So now I make it somewhat near the purple and I'm going to refresh it. I think it's not showing the difference. I will show you why, but let me come here and let me refresh it. It's not showing the difference because of that H1. As I said, it makes it more powerful. Now we are going to use H1 here, and then yeah, now you can see the color is changed, and this is because of H1. As H1 and these two makes it more powerful as compared to having only class. And also remember that what if I remove it for now, I will put it in the final file, don't worry. Just come here and refresh it. So it's still having the same color because class 2 is defined after the use class. I can show you what is the difference. I can I will remove it from here and paste it before, and now come here and refresh it. Yeah, it's still having the same color because we defined it after the first class. So don't worry about it, it will work like that for you. And even the important thing is useful here as well. So here it will again turn back to the pink one. So that's something I wanted to show you for the class selector. And now the ID selector. ID selector is the last part of this lecture, but we will continue with the CSS selectors in the next lecture as well, so be there with me. And we also covered it earlier, but I want to show you it once again. You can also define it like this, and here I'm having ID selector. You can name it anything, it's just a way how the things work in the VS Code. So you define the tag, you mark a hash for a class, defining a class, then class name, and press enter. You're seeing that I am having the ID and ID selector text as the ID as well. Or I can make it ID1, ID H1. Yeah, and here I'm going to type it. So, yeah, I'm just copying this text. ID is used to select me, and here I'm going to refresh it. So here is our text, and we are already having the universal one and also the H1 as the tag. So it's also an H1 tag, therefore it's having the same color. But here I'm going to define the hash for the ID as I defined it when creating the H1 tag. So it's H1 ID dot H1, the name of our ID. So here is our ID declared, and now what I'm going to do, I am going to not here, yeah, background color as what should we do it? I'm going to do it bit brown, not brown, sorry. Yeah, let's test the brown. Refresh it. We are having the background as brown, and now we can't see the text, so I'm going to change it to this, and I'm going to refresh. Now we are seeing the text, and we are also having a bit of reddish background. So that's it for today's lecture, but I will share the second part of this lecture, in which we are going to cover the descent selector, parent child selector, adjacent sibling selector, and pseudo class selectors like first child, and child, second child, even and odd selectors. So be there for the next lecture, for the next part of CSS selectors. Hope to see you in the next lecture. I will share this code in the GitHub, and I will provide you the link of the GitHub in the video description, and also the course outline in the video description, and also the full playlist link for this whole course of the HTML and CSS. So be there. See you in the next lecture.